Okay, good evening. We're here for a sunset. I'm going to go backwards just a little bit to go forwards. We're still in chapter 5, which is rather long, but it has all these lovely fill in the blank spots. They're fortunately blank. Okay, so we're going to go back over feeling labels to see how you can be. Oh, hell yeah, that's clean. Look how clear that is. Okay. I'm going to reread that, and then we're going to move forward. Feeling labels and feeling statements. It is important to know how to express feelings verbally by choosing feeling labels and feeling statements that are clear and precise. Below is a guide that will help when you search for a word to describe a feeling and form a sentence to convey this information to another. Number 1, become familiar with the basic feeling labels. These are listed below, followed by other labels that describe different nuances of the emotion. Afraid could be nervous, scared, and terrified. Sad could be unhappy or mournful. Guilty could be ashamed or remorseful. Inadequate could be embarrassed or humiliated. Lonely could be lonesome. Angry could be annoyed, irritated, irate, furious, or enraged. Glad could be content, relieved, satisfied, happy, and joyous. Number 2, if you use the words that or like with the feeling label, you are expressing a thought or an opinion, not a feeling. The example is, I feel that you have done a good job. It translates to, I think you have done a good job. Notice that this sentence offers no information about the internal physiological reaction. Number 3, if you can, substitute the word think for the word feel in your feeling statement, and it still makes sense. You are stating a thought, not a feeling. The example, I feel he is making a mistake, translates to, I think he's making a mistake. This is a judgment, an interpretation of the external event, not a description of your internal response. It's very beautiful. It's a little dark. Let's see if I can lighten it up a little bit. There we go. All right, number 4. Feeling labels are adjectives that describe the physiological sensation within your body. Their purpose is to convey information about you. Therefore, A, do not use an adjective to describe a situation in which more than one feeling is possible. The example, I feel powerless, lost, hurt, dizzy, and confused. One person may be happy to be different, another may be afraid, and another may be sad. B, avoid using a verb as a feeling label. Verbs denote action, judgment, and blame. Example, I feel cheated. This statement says that someone did something that you judge as cheating, and whatever physiological sensation you have is that person's fault. Other verbs commonly misused as feeling labels are blamed, betrayed, abandoned, distanced, rejected, neglected, etc. And number 5, when you can substitute am for feel in your feeling statement, there is a high probability that you are describing a feeling. The example, I feel happy. I am happy. Okay, and on to page 61. The feeling formula. If you want your feelings to be useful tools, take possession of them. Own your perception that created them. And be careful not to blame either on others. A simple formula may help you. All right, I'm going to put this back up here. I feel the wind picking up, which is awesome because it's hot. But we all have a copy of this formula to help change our lives. Come on. There we go. Feeling formula. Okay. I feel, which is a feeling label, when how you see the event. And, oh, Lordy, we left it as an impressionist painting. There we go. Example, I feel afraid when I speak in front of a crowd. This formula may seem unnatural when you first use it. With practice, it will become more familiar and more comfortable. You can practice by completing the statements below with events from your past. All right, here we go again. I'm gonna do it. So we have, I feel sad when I feel inadequate when I feel guilty when I feel afraid when I felt happy when repeat each statement out loud after you filled in the blank areas. All right, we have practice in stating feelings. Below are 2 more exercises that you can do to familiarize yourself with feeling labels and feeling statements. We have watching an old movie. All right, I'm going to put this book back up. Back to the other side. Ah, still pretty. I know it's not clear, but it's still pretty. Let's come out just a little further. All right, there we go. Okay, watching an old movie. Watch a movie, preferably one you have already seen. Be aware of your body as you watch each scene. Excuse me. Put a feeling label on each sensation as it occurs by using the simple statement, I feel. And then in the nightly review, at night, review the major events of your day. Remember how you felt in each situation. Using the formula, write feeling statements for each event. Although you can formulate the statements mentally, the written exercise is more effective. So we have event and we have a feeling statement, an event and feeling statement, and that happens 4 times. All right, now I'm going to put this one back up before we lose all of our light, because again, this one's useful too for your screenshot and my imagination. You have a phone full of screenshots like I do. I think I have 30,000 pictures on my phone. It's ridiculous. All right, now I'm going to read them out to you like normal. Okay, replacing misinformation about anger. Oh, back to my... Oh, come on. There we go. If you have difficulty feeling anger, you need to begin by giving yourself permission. Try to replace misinformation with facts. The misconceptions about anger discussed in Chapter 4 and their refuting truths are as follows. Anger is an accusation. Anger equals disapproval. Anger is an internal, physiological reaction to an external event. The person who is angry is protecting themselves from a perceived threat. It has nothing to do with another's rightness or wrongness. And the next one. Anger is dangerous. Anger itself is not dangerous, harmful, or violent. Anger is internal. The way some people act out their anger may be dangerous, but these actions are behavior and not feeling. And the next one. Ladies don't get angry. Oh, I am sure there are many things a lady doesn't do. Feeling angry isn't one of them. All human beings, not just men, can benefit from anger. And the next. Anger is bad. Anger is neither good or bad. It has a function. When used as intended, it is productive and useful. And the next one. Anger is a sin. It is not a sin to feel angry. If you believe it is unchristian to experience anger, read the New Testament again and think about Christ's emotional responses. Hard to believe that's clear. There we go. The other person is responsible. Each person is responsible for his own feelings, including anger. No one can reach in and turn on the adrenaline switch for another. That switch is turned on by the person's own interpretation of the event. All right, review what your answers show about attitudes in Chapter 1. Are there any pieces of misinformation about anger that you discovered there that aren't discussed above? Was anger used in your upbringing as a device for punishment, control, attack, threat, manipulation, or other purposes? Whatever you witnessed then, you absorbed as the proper uses of anger. And that may be false information which impedes the productive use of anger. All right. Page 64. Write the misinformation that you assimilated during your early life. Disprove each of these beliefs by writing information that you have learned from this book or elsewhere in your experience. All right, it's a whole bunch of this. And then we're going to go over here and we're going to do this again. Okay. Page 65 from our book, The Anger Workbook by Lorraine Biliadou, MS. All right. Uses of anger. If you have trouble feeling anger, knowledge of its function and usefulness will help you solidify the idea that it is not only an acceptable emotion, but also a necessary one. If you don't have difficulty feeling anger, but you express it in a destructive way, understanding its uses can help you choose how and when to use it productively. Below is a list of anger's functions. Review Chapter 2 and write an example of ways you've used or seen anger being used in each of these functions. If you can't think of an example from personal experience, ask your friends for examples from their lives. So we've got the uses of anger is for survival, a place to write that out. It's a cultural, place to write that out. Social regulator, place to write that out. Social bonding and social change, fill in that line. Communication, fill in that in. Motivation, and finish that. Psychological protection. All right, let's see. Replacing unclear labels from page 66. Another helpful way to become used to the idea that you have angry feelings is to replace the unclear feeling labels that you use with the word angry. Review the examples of unclear labels that are presented in Chapter 4. List below those that you often use. Add to this list any unclear labels that you use which are not represented in Chapter 4. Then think of a time when you use this label. Replace it with the word angry and write out the sentence. Here we are again. So we have our example here. The unclear label is upset. Instead, use angry. It says, I felt angry when I thought you weren't listening to me. So then there's like a whole rest of doing that over and over. All right, the bottom of the page. Now, say each sentence out loud. You do not have to feel it, just say it. Go to a quiet place using a relaxation tape or breathing to the count of 3. Clear your mind. Relieve the scene that involved the unclear label. As you visualize the scene, replace the unclear label with the word angry. All right. And the next page. Replacing misinformation about fear. Let me see, wait a second. Yeah, I'm going to try to see what we can do here. Replacing misinformation about fear. If you think that you experience anger more often than others do, perhaps you are unable to recognize and label the fear and anxiety sensation that precedes anger. Misinformation could be keeping you from experiencing fear. Here are 3 common misconceptions about fear, followed by the truth. First one, fear is bad. Every feeling has a function. The human race wouldn't be here today. You would not be here today if it weren't for fear. It is the physiological sensation that signals danger. It readies the body for action when threat is near. It is fear that slams on the brakes when you are driving 60 miles an hour down the highway and a car cuts you off. It is fear that saves your life. Number 2, men don't feel fear. Fear, or the lack of it, has nothing to do with manhood. The real point is whether you use your fear in an intelligent way. Do you get out of situations where there is nothing to be won and you would be hurt by the fight? Do you stay to fight in situations that are important? Can you tell the difference? It is the choice of flight or fight. If you aren't able to experience fear, You are always stuck in the fight. And the third one of replacing misinformation about fear. Ooh, that's pretty. Okay. Fear is the lack of courage. It is not courageous to be devoid of fear. Courage is feeling fear and performing the necessary task anyway. If the task isn't necessary or meaningful to you, why risk it? Only fools and robots never feel afraid. Okay, list the false beliefs you were taught about fear during your early life. Remember, excuse me, that you learn not only from what is said, but from what people do or do not do. Then disprove each of these misconceptions by writing accurate information. There's our... Oh! Okay. It's like you're with me. There we go. That's probably going to do like 5 more times on the other side. Exactly. Write out your misinformation and then write the true information. Okay. Now review your life. Can you think of any conflict when you stayed to fight, either physically or verbally, that would have turned out better for you if you had backed off or left? Please describe more than one incident. There's like a bunch of lines. All right, we're almost done. I know it's getting a little long, but chapter 5 is pretty long with all of these fill in the blank areas. Okay. Taking responsibility. You cannot use anger productively until you stop blaming others for your angry feelings. The following type of sentence helps to do this. I feel angry when I think how I see the event. So the example is, I feel angry when I think you are putting me down. This statement presents 2 pieces of information about yourself. It tells the other person your interpretation of his behavior and your feeling reaction to that interpretation. It also provides the opportunity for him to let you know whether your interpretation is accurate. If it isn't, you don't need the anger. If it is, you need to use the anger to develop an assertive response. This formula may seem unnatural when you first use it. With practice, it will become more comfortable. To begin practicing it, write 3 examples of times that you have felt angry. Then write your anger statement using the formula. I know, it's so pretty. I keep putting my silly book up in the way. So again. Alright. So you're going to list out your situation. I felt angry. And there's a bunch of options. Repeat each statement of anger out loud after you filled in the blank area. Alright, let's see how much I can squeeze in. Okay, owning the fear. Another feeling formula, which helps you take responsibility for your angry feelings, involves the fact that anger is a protective device that acts as a defense to hide fear. This formula is, I feel angry when I'm some kind of label for fear. The example is, I feel angry when I'm nervous. This statement takes into account the fact that some type of fear and anxiety always underlies the anger. You acknowledge ownership of the fear sensation as well as the angry feeling. If you do practice enough, you will begin to experience the fear and anxiety before it turns to anger. You will then have choices. You can express the fear, leave the threatening situation, or move into anger and use it to assert self. Okay, think over the past 3 days when you have felt angry. Make a list of these events. There are 4 lines for you to list out angry events over the last 3 days. Now, using a relaxation tape or breathing to the count of 3, clear your mind and relax. Visualize each angry incident listed above. As you relive each incident, repeat the formula using the appropriate fear label: anxious, afraid, nervous, etc. All right, and the last part I think I'm going to read today. Thoughts. Page 71, changing your experience of anger. When you are making changes in thinking, it doesn't matter whether you have difficulty feeling anger or you seem to feel it too often. The core element in both situations is an image of your identity that denies your worthiness as a human being. Problems of thought that maintain a denying self-concept and thereby affect anger are misinterpretations of the event, inaccurate judgments of self and others, and excessive negative self-statements. The following exercise, practiced on a regular, consistent basis, help to alleviate such problems. There's 6 of them here. First one, reinterpreting the event. And the next, daily review. And the next, stopping the judgments. And the next, judging self more accurately. And the next, judging others more accurately. And the final one, developing positive self-statements. Okay, let's see. Just taking a little peek what I got left here on that word. It's beautiful. It's pink as can be. But I'm afraid there's just a few too many pages to make it fit. Okay, I'm on 87 and that's 72. And it's getting dark, so I can't hardly show you the book anymore. Okay, the next one is reinterpreting the event. The greatest spur to excessive anger is misinterpretation of events. Number 1, you misunderstood what is being said or done. Number 2, you react to situations as though you were the center of attention, thereby taking everything very personally. List 3 events that you responded to with anger. What was your interpretation? Remember exactly what was said or done that offended you. Write 3 other possible interpretations. Excuse me. So what we have is lines to fill out after the event, lines to fill out after the interpretation of the event, and then 3 spots to fill out possible interpretations, which I usually have to ask somebody else. You know, like other brains have entirely different information inside them. And then there's multiple times for you to do that over and over. You get to put the event, you put your interpretation, and then you put 3 possible alternate interpretations that mostly you yourself did not think of. All right. This last part that I'm going for. Oh my Lord. It's all so good. I'm going to quit. It's so beautiful. Let me sit in there. It's just beautiful. Take just a minute to say how much I appreciate you letting me read my books to you. Thank you for being with me. This is Crystal. I appreciate you.